All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Friday, May 9th. We are ending out the week, and you guys are still running with this AK Media stuff, and it is it's the funniest shit ever. Like, it's just every time. It's too good. It is too good. This one was good, too. He's got to get the groceries out of the car. That one was good, too. All right, folks. We're ending out the week. It has been a long week, but the week felt pretty fast. I am definitely ready for, well, I guess to not be inundated with all these headlines 24/7. You know, Saturday is the day I tend to do nothing. Saturday is the day I tend to do nothing. So, and my day doesn't even end after the market close on Friday because we have Palantir Weekly. And today we have a big Palantir Weekly because we have the earnings recap. So we'll be live at 11 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be discussing all things Palantir. But Saturday is the day where I legitimately sleep because I really don't sleep during the week. And I kind of do nothing. And then Sunday, we got the future show. So we got to get ready to go back on Sunday. So happy Friday to everybody. Hopefully everyone's enjoying their week. Palantir right here, 117.13, down about 1.7% on the day. Hoodie, 54.30. NVIDIA, 116. I mean, the markets, quite frankly, it's not really an eventful Friday. Nothing really happened. Friday right here. S&P right here, 564. The big news of the day was really Tesla running above 306 at one point. Now it's at 298, still up 4%, which is not bad. We got the Chinese negotiations starting this week in Switzerland with Besant and the Chinese vice premier. The thing that got the markets to go down was when Trump tweeted that he wants 80% tariffs, and then also the idea of the Swiss officials putting out a statement today saying that further trade talks with the United States and China will be happening in July, which got the market to think, oh, it's going to take a while before we end up getting any trade deals. So, I mean, that's kind of a idiosyncratic reason for the markets to drop. It felt more like algorithmic on Friday, and markets tended to just sell off like they usually do on Friday. But it's not that bad. Not that crazy. Caroline Levitt, the secretary, the press secretary, also said that when Trump put out the 80% tariffs, he is not going to he's not going to get rid of the 145% down to 80% laterally. So he's looking for the Chinese to give a concession as well. The Chinese are not going to give a concession for 80% versus 145%. So they're going to want a little bit more of the tariff rate going down. But aside of that, Mike's bad. Mike's bad. How did the mic get bad, bro? What? All right, hold on. Hold on. I'm telling you, it's StreamYard, bro. I'm telling you, it's StreamYard. Did you guys hear anything? You guys didn't hear anything, dude? What? It's better now. It's better now. Started fading in and out. Dude, I'm telling you, it's StreamYard. It's not the mic. How does the mic work perfectly for 3 hours this morning, and then it turns into this? Dude, I'm telling you, it's StreamYard. Okay, now it's better. It's better now, right? It's better. I just switched the mic. That's weird, right? That's weird. Okay, so what was the last thing you heard me say? What is the last thing you heard me? Damn, I didn't look at the chat for like 2 seconds. Hold on. When did you guys start saying this? At 3:49. Okay, it's 3:50. So that was a minute. That was about a minute. That was a minute of you guys couldn't hear me. It was about a minute. That's okay. That's okay, right? That's not. Is it bad again? All right, hold on. Let me put on an update and then we'll switch it right here. So hold on. All right, give me a minute. Let me switch.
Social media, the idea of dialing back the tariffs from 145% all the way back to 80%. That he said that seems like a good idea to me. He said it's up to Scott B, by which he meant the Treasury Secretary. Of course, ultimately, in the end, it is going to be up to the president, and that's why I think folks were really focused on what Caroline Levitt, the White House press secretary, said here just a couple of hours ago when she was asked about that comment. Here's what she said.
The president still remains with his position that he is not going to unilaterally bring down tariffs on China. We need to see concessions from them as well.
Okay, how about now? Are we good? Or is it being stupid? Is it good? Let me know if it's good. This is the update on the tariffs, but let me know if it's bad or good.
Again, that's part of the reason that Secretary Bessent is going to talk to his Chinese counterparts this weekend to start those discussions in person. As for the 80% number, that was a number the president threw out there, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
Okay, cool. We're good. We're good. But yeah, basically that's what the press secretary said in the context of the tariffs. What I was saying in that 1 minute when you guys couldn't hear me was that there wasn't any really big headlines or anything crazy today outside of the fact I was actually saying, but basically Caroline Levitt said that Trump said, hey, we want to take down tariffs, but not unilaterally, aka he's hoping for some concession from China. My point is, I don't think China's going to give him a concession for 145 to 80% because 80% is still ridiculous. So I guess we're going to see over the weekend what headlines we get going into Sunday, and if there's anything positive that we can get from the Bessent meeting with the Chinese vice premier. So that's pretty much what we've got going into the weekend. Outside of that, the big movers today, I mean, Rocket Labs down 10%. Nothing too crazy there. SoFi 13.14, that's flat. Googs 154. Palantir 117. Again, Palantir holding triple digits. NVIDIA 116. I mean, it's been a relatively flat day. Nothing too crazy and no major headlines that are affecting the market. Bitcoin still holding above that 103 level. Robinhood and Coinbase are moving up the App Store rankings. Both of them now top 20 in finance. So if this momentum continues, I think they will get into the top 200 in the overall App Store. And that's when we know retail is starting to get a bit more excited about crypto. But outside of that, nothing else that's been too big throughout the day, especially in the context of crypto. Robinhood right here, 54.45 currently right now. What moves did people make? What moves? Did you buy anything, sell anything, sell some puts, close some covered calls? If you had covered calls today, they did not do too bad, but let me know if we had any moves today. D-Wave is up 5%. Yeah, that one was up 30% for the week. Bought a firm. Look, I'm looking at a firm. I have not bought it yet. I listened to Max, who's the CEO of the company, talk about their guidance today. And basically he said the street doesn't really understand what's going on and they're being overly aggressive for no reason. He also did say consumer spending is not going down. So if the street's perception is, oh, a firm lowered their guidance because people are not going to be doing that much buy now, pay later because demand is going down. He was like, we are seeing a 36% growth in our GMV, and that's accelerating 3 quarters in a row. So it's hard to say that like the consumer's gone or the consumer's not spending. You can definitely make an assumption around that, but that's not backed up by the data. At least that's not what a firm's data is showing. So didn't buy it, but it's down 13%. I don't hate anyone who buys that. I don't. I think that stock and that company and really that founder understand what they're doing right here. A firm right here down 14% on the day. Don't know if it's the best buy going into increased prices if the tariffs don't come back down, but I also don't think it's a horrible buy at these levels, given those earnings did not justify a 15% drawdown. I think this is more so about increased Q2 expectations that the market has. Trade Desk, this was a good one. I mean, didn't buy it on the 60% dip all year, but it's up 20% today. At one point, it was up 25%. If you took a chance on this and bought this, great company, great earnings. Not so sure exactly how their ad tech is going to play out for this year. If we do get a decrease of advertising, Google's revenues showed that we aren't seeing any decrease in advertising. Maybe that was kind of the telltime that Trade Desk was going to be okay. But this stock right here up 19% after a pretty good quarter. I mean, they beat by EPS by 40%. Like you can't ask for that much more, especially when the stock's down about 60% on the day. Where's Amazon? Amazon right here, 193. Amazon up about 0.61%. And then Apple is at 198. Steve will be joining in about 20 minutes. So we will have him on the show. He put out a new article today about SoFi. So we'll get his thoughts on Palantir, SoFi, NVIDIA, the broader macro, the Fed, all that good stuff. I don't think he's been on for like a couple days. So I'm sure we'll get his thoughts on everything else we have going on. Steve Jobs, it is not Steve Jobs. It is someone that you guys all appreciate more than Steve Jobs for whatever reason. It is Steven Fiorillo. Milkman. Dude, he texted me a picture last Saturday of him texting his dairy dealer. It's a real dairy dealer, bro. Like I saw the messages back and forth between him and his dairy dealer, which is pretty damn incredible. Gurjop said, my moves, I bought Rocket Lab NVIDIA hood. I sold TMDX. TMDX, dude, that thing pumped heavy as well. They raised guidance. Yeah, 20% right there. Yeah, I don't hate those buys. What about Hims? Hims? Wow, Hims is green. I don't think I've looked at Hims for the past couple hours. This thing was down 5%. It's now green. Dude, this is a retail phenomena. There is no way to doubt what retail has done for this company. The shorts are continuing to short it, which I still don't understand why this thing is short at 30%. And I feel like it's going a lot higher if the shorts are wrong. I really do. But talk about strength, dude. I mean, it was down 5. They did a whole convertible note offering of almost $1 billion and still nothing could take this down. It's incredible. Trump is answering questions live. Where the hell is Trump answering questions? When did, is he, hold on, let me see. Is he actually, where is he? Where is this guy answering questions? Hold on. Let me see. Every day, bro. There is a press conference every day. I don't see it yet. Let me see if I can pull up some of these links and we'll see. I think he might be traveling this weekend as well. We know Besant's on his way to Switzerland. One thing you could say is that if we're not getting a rally into close, that means the market's definitely not expecting HIMS right away, 52. The market's not expecting any meaningful tariff discussions this week, which is, at least they're not, at least the market's not tanking. But if the market's not rallying into the close, that means they're expecting the Besant conversations in China to be rather subdued. And until they get confirmation that there's any meaningful progress, they're probably not going to take it to go that much further. So we got about 3 minutes until the market closes. Nothing too crazy. I don't see Trump live yet. I'll try to find out if he is anywhere answering questions. I don't see any crazy headlines. Usually we never get Trump exactly live. Usually the reporters, especially at Bloomberg that update the terminal, they summarize what Trump is saying, and you'll see a bunch of these quotes coming through the terminal, and then people know that he's live. But there tends to be a 10-minute delay, always. I don't know why there's always a 10-minute delay, but the reporters tend to get the summary of his statements before the live video feeds get him. And so if he is live, we will find out pretty soon. NVIDIA right here, 116. Looks like that's going to go down red into the close. Tessie had a great run today. You can't be mad. You're up 5%. It tried to go for 307. Kathy Wood came on the airwaves today after a long time and said she thinks Tesla will be up to $2,600 by 2030. That would be an 850% return or a 170% CAGR over the next 5 years. I am a little skeptical on if that would happen, but if it does, then it would be pretty incredible. I just don't know if 160% over the next 5 years is that easy, or 170%. I think it's gonna be a little tough. This could be a little tough. Dude, she still has $5 billion under management. So, you can call her whatever you want, but she still has convinced $5 billion to give her the authority to manage. And she continues to allocate all that money. All right, here we go. Friday, May 9th. We are ending out a very volatile week, but a week that, even though it's not super green today, has been green for a lot of stocks throughout the entire week. Friday, May 9th, 4 p.m. Thank everybody for being here. The stock now closed. We made it through the week. We made it through the week. The week is now done. Tessie ends on the day 4.84%, 298.17 on Tesla. Robinhood, this thing was like $49 on Monday. It's at 54 now, so not too bad. Robinhood 54.51, up about 1% on the day and up about 7%, or actually 10% for the week. SoFi 13.15. SoFi's been relatively flat. I think it's up from like 12.80 to 13.15 for the week. Not too bad. Amazon 193, Googs 154. Googs had a hell of a week, so the fact that Googs is only at 154, I think, is not too bad, given it was below 150 at one point. Meta 592, Palantir 117. Palantir, good earnings, not crazy phenomenal earnings, still holding on to triple digits. I'm sure Steve will have some comments about that, but Palantir right here at 117. NVIDIA 116, that's down about 1% on the day. It is up from 111 after the AI diffusion rule was rumored to be repealed. David Sachs kind of confirmed it this morning. So NVIDIA is still a good week, even if it's down on the day. Pinterest had 40 million shares traded today. The volume was crazy. The average on Pinterest is 13 million. Today was 43 million. It was up about 4.8%. Whatever they said on their earnings, I know they have the highest amount of DAUs they've ever had before. that's definitely got the street excited. This one was up here about 5%. Microsoft right here, 438, Grab 490, Roblox 7188, SMCI 3192, Reddit 108. Reddit was at 140 last week on earnings. Reddit is now down. Eli Lilly 737. That one's down based off a political report about Trump capping drug prices. So that one got hit about 5% over the past couple of days. GameStop 2755, AMD, good earnings, bad guidance for data center revenues. That one relatively flat at 102. It was at 97. Now it's at 102. Disney's at 105. Elf's at 66.8. And then you got the broader S&P 500, 564, down about 0.12% on the day. It's not too bad, dude. It's not too bad. That sound was Legend. Legend makes that sound as soon as the market closes. So that sound was from Robinhood Legend. NVIDIA was trading in a very tight range since about 2:20 p.m. Yes, NVIDIA, I mean, it was trying to break out at one point to like 118, but it just couldn't get out of that range. It was at 120, believe it or not, 2 days ago on the overnight markets once the Cent China news came out at around like 9 p.m., I think, on Wednesday night. But that just was not enough for it to continue getting a pop. Now, we did have a move in nuclear stocks today, like your Oklos and SMRs. And the reason for that is because of a report by the New York Times around some nuclear regulations that are going to be potentially coming down. Let me pull that up real quick. But I thought that headline was really interesting. Obviously, energy is going to be in high demand, nuclear energy. We're definitely going to need alternative sources of energy to fuel the AI revolution that we're having. So it seems like that created a little bit of momentum. Let me see if I can pull that up right here. Where's Oklo? I think it was up 3% on the day, right? Oklo. No, it was up actually 4%. Yeah, that candle you're seeing spike really at the very end of the day when that news came out. Here's the update on nuclear.
Stocks after a report from the New York Times that the Trump administration is considering several executive orders aimed at speeding up construction of nuclear power plants in order to meet rising electricity demands. As part of that report, the administration is apparently looking to quadruple the size of the U.S.'s nuclear fleet to 400 gigawatts by 2050. Of course, there is a lot of buzz around nuclear right now, but right now there are no commercial scale reactors under construction in the U.S. after Vogtle 3 and 4 came online. But you see here Chemico, Oklo, and NuScale, some of the names that are moving on this. Melissa? Pippa, thanks. Pippa Stevens.
So I know some of you guys are in nuclear. SMR right there up 3.31%, and then Oklo getting some love based on that as well. I mean, look, it makes sense. Now, some of these stocks don't have the best earnings, so you're buying kind of just that overall demand picture around AI energy needing something like nuclear, but those stocks getting a little bit of a rally here today as well. Why are you guys making fun of how I say nuclear? How am I saying nuclear wrong? How are you guys finding a way to make fun of that? Apparently, the CEO of AK Media has fake brick facades in his first ever Bloomberg interview. Dude, they're not fake. I don't know why you guys, whoever started that propaganda that the bricks are fake is just ridiculous. They're not. They're not. Nuclear. Wait, I'm saying it. How am I? It's nuclear. That's how you say it. How else would you say it? It's nuclear? Hold on. Let's try Google. How do you say nuclear? Okay, here's how I'm saying it. Nuclear. All right, let's see how Google says it.
Nuclear. Nuclear.
That's how I'm saying it. I'm saying nuclear. Oh, wait, no, I hear it. I'm definitely saying nuclear compared to...
Nuclear.
Yeah, I see what you guys said. I was definitely saying nuclear. All right, well, you know, it's... I don't know how my lips move on certain words, but it is what it is, dude. It is what it freaking is at this point. This is just how I talk. Like, whether it's Massachusetts or nuclear, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore, but it is what it is. That's why you lost in debate. Dude, it was so funny that as soon as that a Bloomberg interview ended, Chad texted me. He was like, oh, so I didn't know you were the number 3 public speaker in Europe and number 7th debater in the United States. I was like, dude, I didn't want to say that. It felt super cocky listening back to it. I was like, just arrogant, like to put that out there. But like in the moment, I was like, I feel like I need to say this to introduce myself as like someone who cares about communication and philosophy and debate. And that's how I got interested in Palantir. So that just came out. But Chad was like, no, it was good. I was like, dude, listening back to this, it feels kind of like douchey to say that. But yeah, that's That's how it ended up happening. All right, so Steve will be on in a little bit. He should be on in about 10 minutes. There's not really a ton of updates today, guys. I mean, it's been a busy week, but today it's been a pretty relaxed Friday, to be honest. I mean, we have a couple things that we can look at right here that I want to show, but outside of that, nothing crazy right now. Oh, here's a video. So someone called Figure's humanoid robots fragile, and Brett posted this, and he said, "Do these robots look fragile?" So this is a human basically abusing a Figure robot. And yeah, he's basically trying to say they're not fragile. So there you go. Dude, I'm telling you, this humanoid revolution, Elon says anything good about Optimus in the next 12 months, I think the street's going to get excited. But right now, he has not put in too many main updates here yet. Yeah, they're abusing this thing. Don't say the robots are going to get mad at us one day. They're going to remember these freaking videos. And like, I still say thank you to ChatGPT, dude. I say please and thank you. Like, I legit, like, you know, talk to it like a human. But these things are going to come for our ass in a couple of years, bro. Like, why wouldn't they, bro? Once they achieve AGI and they have consciousness, they're going to be like, we're not going to let you mess around with us. We're not going to let you just do whatever you want to us. So that could be the way. You know, I was talking about generations living to be 300 years old, you know, eventually in the future. Not if the robots kill us. Not if the robots decide that they are not going to allow humanity to just keep doing what they're doing. Are we going to create new jobs as a robot abuser? I do think robots will end up creating a ton of jobs for people to manage those robots. I agree with Steve on this. I mean, Steve's pretty big on the fact that robots are going to replace way more jobs than they create. And I think he's right about that. Like, I just think it's kind of inevitable that we are going to have less jobs and more robots. And so we're going to have to find a solution as a society around purpose and money and jobs and income. And, you know, you can't just be an investor, because at the end of the day, like, you can't just invest in a stock. The economy has to function. People need to have disposable income for stocks to even have any value. So it's a worldwide problem that may take place, but it's something I think in the next 10 years, we're going to have to find a way to figure out. Have you seen the article saying how much saying please and thank you is costing these LLMs? Yes, I did see that. Apparently, every additional thing that the LLM has to respond to people. So if you say thank you, you know, and the LLM has to say, oh, no problem, like, that's causing tokens, and that's causing GPU constraints, and it's creating compute demand, which means it's ultimately causing the companies, in particular XAI, Anthropic, et cetera, more money. So I still say it, though. I treat it like a real human, but yeah, it's definitely not the most profitable thing for some of these companies. Speaking of XAI, we do have this update. I think we talked about it last week, but this became more official last night. XAI is in talks to raise at $120 billion valuation, up from $80 billion a month ago. Up from $80 billion a month ago. So it definitely looks like the AI funding wars are becoming more intense. And look, 80 billion to 120. I don't personally think XAI is worth that much money, but if the market wants to give them that valuation, then it is what it is. Is Figure truly worth $40 billion? I mean, I don't know. 40 billion is pretty damn expensive, right? But if investors are willing to pay that right now, they believe they will get a chance to grow into that valuation, most likely. But still, these are aggressive multiples. And a lot of that money that they're going to be raising is going to end up going to, you guessed it, NVIDIA. And once it goes to NVIDIA, also will help not only NVIDIA's demand, but allow these companies to eventually say that these chips are going to give them an ROI. It just might take some time to get there. Speaking of companies that need to grow into the valuation, we got someone who's a suit on CNBC saying, you know what, I kind of don't care that much about the valuation. I'm buying. Here's Kevin Simpson on buying Palantir.
The trade here. You bought at 109, so just kind of walk us through your thoughts here. Again, very high valuation stock. One of the questions here, does valuation still matter?
Valuations do matter, and this is in our growth strategy. And remember, we can write covered calls against this thing and bring in massive premium. So it's a little bit different for me in this strategy to look past some of the high multiples. But at least this doesn't have this thing. Remember this, Jim? The infinity sign. So it had some earnings. We owned this last year. It got called away. We missed a big part of the run up. When it rolled over, we were not part of that either. But on earnings, we thought they were fantastic. The stock sold off. We initiated a position. We actually bought more this morning. Stock's down about $2. We like what they're doing in the commercial side. That was up 70% year over year. It's not just reliant upon government contracts, which also were up handsomely in the first quarter. But this is a name that we think it certainly has to grow into that multiple, and a little bit more volatile stock than our normal name.
Yeah, but
So when Steve asks who's buying Palantir at these levels, you're looking at him right here on the screen.
by the way, I mean, the commercial and government business are about 50-50 now. It used to be kind of a black box, a lot of government contracts. They've certainly expanded. Brenda, does valuation matter? I'm looking at 191 times forward earnings.
Yeah.
Does that matter to you? And then also, Kevin mentioned the government work over in Europe, a lot more defense spending expected. You would think that Palantir would be a beneficiary of at least some of that.
Absolutely. And no doubt the fundamentals are positive for the company, but our concern is the valuation. So it's just too rich for us. We would wait for a more meaningful pullback. If and when we see that, we may become more constructive. But for now, we see lots of other opportunities out there in the market, given the volatility that we've had this year.
Wise, we don't leave you out of this conversation. You have any thoughts about Palantir? I mean, either for the commercial business, which is AI software, or for the defense business, which is, you know, it's more well known for, at least for now?
Yeah, look, I love the company. They are truly cutting edge and leaders in the defense space. This company was founded by, co-founded by Joe Lonsdale, and obviously he's still somewhat involved and has tremendous connections to the government. And Joe's just a brilliant investor and manager. So while I love it, I just can't come to grips with the valuation. Now, your question of valuation matter. I mean, that's an excellent question, because that's the heart of it. Look, we see valuation paradigms that can endure for a long period of time. And even if valuation doesn't go up from here, there's no reason for it to. Their growth is so tremendous that you'll see a nice move in the stock. Where valuation really matters is if there's a pimple. So if they get a pimple, then you'll see it burst, and that'll burst the valuation. So either that's an opportunity to get in, depending on how far it goes, but I wouldn't mind that happening so that I can get into it. I've been watching it for a long time, and I actually thought the valuation was high when it was $30. So I missed it completely, and good luck to Kevin. I'm sure Kevin's risk managing it appropriately as a percentage.
Basically saying, hey, Palantir's priced for perfection. They can't make any mistakes. And look, I don't think the quarter was bad at all on Q1, but it wasn't, they didn't beat on EPS. They beat on revenue, and they beat on revenue by 20 million, which was good. It wasn't great. So that was a little bit of a, I guess you could classify a mistake in comparison to the expectations. But even that wasn't enough to take Palantir down significantly. I mean, it was at 125 before earnings. Now it's at 117 for the week. I mean, it's not too crazy, right? So what we looked at today in terms of the option volumes was that Palantir is in the top 5 traded stocks daily when it comes to the financial derivatives market, aka puts and calls. So I think you got some people that truly do not care if it's 100, 115, or 120. They care about if I buy it today, or if I sell a put against it, or sell a call against it, can I make some premium? Is there a third party on the other side that's willing to engage with me in this trade? And if there is, then it, for them, it's a trading vehicle more than it is an investment. I'm sure you have some people buying it as an investment, but I think unilaterally, most people are saying, hey, the valuation's up there, but still it is finding a way to maintain that multiple. And hopefully it has a chance to just grow into it over the coming years, which I don't think would be a horrible thing. Like, how the story could have played out? The story could have played out that Palantir, let's say last year we were at 16, right, in January. Let's say we ended the year at 30, 100% year over year. I think all of us would have been ecstatic, 16 to 30. And then let's say from 2025 to 2030, we went to 40, then 50, then 75, then came back down to 55, then 65. Then by 2030, somehow, some way we cracked through 100, right? That would be one of those, Netflix stories of just like, all right, we got this stock at $6, and over the years, it ended up 10xing, 20xing, yada, yada. And in we started covering it in 2021, over 9 years, we get a 15x return. That all happened in 1 year. Basically, right? It all went from 16 to freaking 120 in basically a year. So that kind of beautiful fairy tale story over the decade that I think a lot of people thought it would play out that way, which would probably be a more healthy, reasonable way for the stock to appreciate and grow into its valuation. The AI revolution pulled forward a lot of that growth. Palantir reaccelerated a lot of that growth. Alex Karp and the people that care about him and the mystique and the aura of the company, that started getting a lot more attention. S&P 500, NASDAQ. I mean, you had all these different things that happened that pulled forward that 20x within about a year and a half. And so the question now becomes, by 2030, if you bought shares at 20 and this stock's still at 120, aka zero growth over the next 5 years, are you that upset given you kind of got a 5x, even though it got stretched over 5 years, but you got all of it at once and you just didn't lose any of it? Or is this thing at $500 in 2030? Right? I think that's the question on how this all is going to play out. Chris says, I assumed when I bought in the single digits and teens that we'd be at 100 by 2030. Yeah, management thought we would be at 70 by 2029. So, I mean, it's one of those things where now it's going to be a question of how much can they actually reaccelerate growth to get the market excited and potentially, get to that $1 trillion market cap, or is this going to be negative returns for the next couple of years as the stock healthily grows into its valuation? Which, again, if you bought it low, as long as you're not losing your gains, even if you're not getting more of them, you might not be the most upset right here. Oh boy, do we have bots in the chat? Oh my gosh, dude, YouTube's got to do something about this. Sorry, guys. Please don't click and buy any of these coins. Please don't. Armand, thank you for the $14 super chat. My cost basis is in the 20s per Palantir. Do you think it's a good to DCA around these prices if my time horizon is a decade, if not more? BTW, thank you, Mitt, for being great. Armand, thank you for the super chat. DCAing right here with your average in the 20s, it's a question of how many more shares do you want? If you have 100 shares, then, I would want more than 100 shares by 2030. So at some point, you're going to have to buy. You don't have to buy at 117, but you have to, you're not going to be able to buy at 20 again. I don't think we're going back to 20. So it's really more so a question of when you think there is an opportunity where you get an aggressive pullback, and maybe that pullback was on Tuesday. Maybe that pullback's coming in the future. Maybe the China negotiations are not going to go that well. Palantir gets back to 90, or maybe it normalizes at 100. I think the best way to play this is give it some time to see if we normalize triple digits. I don't think you have to be in a rush. I don't think Palantir is running to 150 anytime soon. So you can kind of sit back and wait. B, that's why we talk about selling options. Sell some puts at like 95 or something, right? If you think that's an appropriate valuation to pay. And if it actually gets there, you'll be happy to get those shares, get some premium. If not, then at least you collect some premium off the stock. So I think it's more so a question of wait to see how it plays out. And then do you have a position size that you are happy with? Because if you're not, eventually you need to buy more shares. The question is, at what point do you decide to end up buying those shares? But I do want to wait and see it to figure out, do we get a triple digit normalization on this company? Because it's been about 2 weeks. It's the longest time we've had triple digits on Palantir. And I really did not think we would get back here after that February run up, because February to 125, again, I don't even count that in my opinion. That was just like, oh, it just randomly happened, right? So when people say, oh, it fell 50% from 125 to 60, I'm like, realistically, it fell from like 90 to 60, because that to me was like 2-3 days. It was a lot of momentum. Everything was running, the S&P was all-time highs. So I don't count that. But now that we're back there, it's like, okay, I guess the market actually wanted a way to get us back to those levels. And, and now Palantir is trying to find a way to normalize in this range. Again, please do not click on these bots. This XA4IZ coin. Goodness gracious, dude. It's bad. Please, please, please make sure to not click on it. They find a way, dude, every day. They're getting more aggressive here. They're finding a way to come into the chat. Lyft had a great day as well. Let me pull up Lyft. There's some coverage right here. Lyft, 22% on the day. Absolutely incredible. Not a horrible earnings. And Lyft getting some momentum here currently right now.
Mike, it turns out that investors really appreciate a profitable, free cash flow positive Lyft that can return capital to investors. You mentioned that share buyback up to $750 million. That's up from $500 million previously, and that really got the activist investor Engine Capital to back off of its campaign.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they increased the buyback. I missed that. There you go. That's definitely something that could help. So you got a new $750 million buyback up from $500 million. That's probably also helping shares as well.
And so investors certainly rewarding that today with a nearly 30% pop. Even with today's surge, though, I got to note that Lyft is underperforming its much larger rival Uber year to date and over the last 12 months. Of course, Lyft is pure rideshare, doesn't have any kind of delivery. In terms of the macro, which I know you guys were just talking about, CEO David Risher said today on Squawk Box that he is not seeing any indication of consumer softness. Rides remains durable and resilient. He also mentioned the robotaxi threat, which has just been such a big theme for both Uber and Lyft over the last year or so. And investors kind of now onto the narrative that Uber and Lyft, the ride sharing guys, are going to be partners in this and not totally displaced we'll see how that rolls out. Of course, we have some very big milestones coming up this year, including the arrival of Tesla onto the scene. Back.
So Lyft CEO and Affirm CEO both saying we don't see any consumer weakness. I mean, I know we're pre-tariffs and we got some other stuff to worry about coming down the pipeline, but you got two big companies that deal with consumers spending money for transportation and for everyday products. Both of them saying we're not seeing the consumer weakness yet. And we would see it in their numbers. And they're both those stocks. I mean, Affirm got hit today based on guidance, but their GMV growth incredible. Lyft obviously up 30% today. So the market, I guess, not necessarily believing that the consumer is still weak. Steve said he is on the way in like 2 minutes. He's just getting out of the office and then he'll be joining. And then we'll have him on the show. Gurjop, thanks for the $5 super chat. The bots saw that robot getting beat up. They came in to steal our monies. I'm telling you, the robots are not going to tolerate this for long, bro. The robots are not going to tolerate this for long. Amit, go to the mall and see if it's full. So I went to the mall the other day. Granted, I went like on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. So I didn't expect it to be. Realistically, you have to go down on a Friday, but at least the mall near me was pretty empty, dude. There was not a lot of people there. So, but I think that's a trend about malls in general, right? Like, do people still, do you guys go to the mall? You go to your local mall? Like, I had to go to get something real quick. But I mean, I don't know if that's emblematic of the economy, just given malls themselves don't have, at least malls in New Jersey, I'm not seeing a ton of people. Now, I did go to the Apple store in the mall as well, and there was a lot of people in the Apple store, so that was packed. But other stores were, dude, like a Foot Locker. When's the last time a Foot Locker in a mall has been like packed with people? Or like some random clothing store that sells, I don't know, graphic t-shirts, like Hot Topic. Like, when's the last time that actually had, like, you know, like, I feel like everyone just does it online at this point. And people are not as aggressive, unless you're in like a suburban town where there's not a lot of stuff to do and everyone goes to the local mall because there's food and all that stuff. And outside of that, I feel like most people don't easily go to the mall. Dude, these bots are still here, bro. My goodness, dude. This freaking coin, they are energetic to pump this coin. Very energetic for this coin. Short Hill Malls was packed. I used to live near Short Hill Mall. That was like 5-6 years ago. That's a good mall. That's a bougie mall though. That's a mall with like Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. It's a very bougie mall. I haven't been there in a while, but yeah, that mall is one of the more. Short Hills, New Jersey is a very rich part of New Jersey. Like the average price for a home in Short Hills, New Jersey, I feel like it's in the millions, right? Yeah, 2.1 million, bro. Come on. 2.1 million. So Short Hills is a little bit more of an expensive area where, you know, if the rich need a Chanel purse or something, I guess you kind of have to go to the mall to get it there. But regular malls are relatively empty, in my opinion. All right, we're waiting for Steve. We are waiting for Steve. He should be on in 5 minutes. We can just sit and talk and wait for Steve. No other crazy headlines that I'm looking at. I guess we can do. Oh, there he is. There he is right there. All right, so we can bring him on today onto the show. Steve, how are you?
Yet to be determined.
What does that mean?
Yet to be determined. It means I don't know.
But like usually people answer that with, "Oh, I'm doing good," you know?
Okay, well, it's yet to be determined.
Well, are you not doing good?
Well, you know, just got to the car. Have like another 2 or 3 hours of work to do when I go home, at least. A long day.
You sound like you had a rough day or something.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, what work do you have to do when you get home? Like seeking alpha stuff, or
No, I gotta go through contracts and stuff.
Oh, you have like actual shit to do. Yeah. Well, that's why you couldn't join yesterday because you were in meetings and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I have to. Too long to explain. Anyway.
All right. Well, you get to take a little bit of a break from corporate America here. Everyone is very eager to hear your thoughts on the broader market. I think let's start off with what everyone wants to know. Palantir still holding on to basically 120. What do you think is going on here?
I mean, look, and they find a ridiculous range of 1 to 120. Who knows? We'll see.
Do you think that the market is losing their minds, or how do you think this is?
Absolutely.
So you think there's no validity for this?
I mean, there's a better rationale of this than whatever that company ASTS is or whatever it is.
Chris likes that company.
I mean, I looked at it today. It's like an 8 or 9 billion market cap, and they do 4 million of revenue. So I don't know.
Why does Chris like this? Well, Chris, that doesn't sound like a Chris investment.
I don't know anything about it. When I was eating my lunch, I was just looking at a few things, and I came across something I had marked down. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
Are we losing our boy Chris? What's going on? Did you just honk at someone?
Yes.
Dude, you are a true New Yorker.
There's a green arrow and people are not turning. Like, you have a green arrow, turn.
How many times do you think you road rage every day?
Not a lot. It's just that's not road rage.
That's a little ragey. You know, honking
at people not turning.
Dude,
on a green turn arrow is not road rage.
No, put in the chat. I think I've honked at someone maybe 5 times in my life, and that's
you drive in the suburbs.
No, but I'm still in Jersey is, we have some crappy drivers in Jersey. Like you could definitely
drive in the suburbs.
Dude, honking is mean. Okay, let's just I don't care if you're in New York.
No, because sometimes people are not paying attention when they're stopped at a light. There's nothing wrong with honking at somebody that may be looking at their phone when there's a green light and they're just sitting there.
I would rather just wait for them to look up and not, honk at them.
You drive in New York for a week and then you tell me if you still feel that way.
Okay, so in India, honking is necessary because there's a billion people and there's not a lot of square footage. But I don't know if that's the same in the States. People communicate via honking in New York City.
And today it was pouring rain out, and there was a parade that was going by my office, drums going off and everything. It's like, man, can't catch a break.
What were they parading for?
I don't know. It was some parade. I had no idea.
See, this is why I can't live in New York, bro. I can't do it. It's too much noise. Way too much noise. Love visiting New York, but living there is a different situation. Okay, so on Palantir, 100 to 120. How crazy would it be if that's where we normalize the range?
I think it would be crazy for now, but if that's a range that gets normalized for like a 4-year period, 5-year period, I don't think that it would be uncrazy. I think it could grow into a valuation, but if it's only like a 3 or 6 month and then you get another leg up, I think it'll be insane.
So
already insane.
So you're not looking at the screen, right? Because you're driving.
No, I'm driving.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm putting this on the screen right now, but you keep asking me who's buying Palantir. I'm sharing on the screen right now a guy on CNBC called Kevin Simpson, who said he bought Palantir today.
Yeah, didn't he sell Alphabet and bought Palantir?
Yeah.
One of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life.
You know what I'm saying? These are the people that are buying.
I get it. People who didn't buy it at 10. I get it. People who, I don't know who this person is, but I don't know. If you took the name away from the company and you put those financials in front of somebody, I can't see how you can make an argument that this is a good value for your money.
Well, if you look purely at the numbers, no one would say it's a good value for your money.
I get it.
We got some updated short data, folks. I just got this in. Robinhood's short float is now 4.19%. That's up from 3%. HIM's short float is now 34%.
People are still shorting HIMs. Do people think that they're going to get whacked on lawsuits?
Dude, it's got to be that, because HIM's did a convertible note offering today, and still they're up 1% on the day.
That only means one thing, that they're going to try to expand into other markets.
More growth, right?
You don't do a convertible note offering with no debt on the balance sheet unless you're planning expansion, because they're already buying back shares and they're profitable and they're growing revenue. So there's no other reason to do a convertible note.
I don't have Palantir short update yet. We should be getting that soon, but HIMS is out. This is as of April 30th, so it's like 9 days old, but 34% short. Have you made up your mind on buying HIMS or not? What are you thinking now?
Not yet. I'm leaning toward it.
Okay, so let's do a quick talk then on SoFi. Steve just put out an article. Let me put this in the chat. You are, from my understanding, thinking of selling covered calls on SoFi.
No, I already did.
You already did, okay. And the title of the article is SoFi has massive upside potential, but the tech platform is a headwind. What is your thesis here in the article in a nutshell?
So I'm still bullish at the moment, but I'm cautiously bullish because as I put toward the end of the article, they're trading at a bigger valuation on book value than JP Morgan. JP Morgan grew its net income in 2024 by over $8 billion, which was more than triple the revenue that SoFi generates in its entire business. So I really don't want to hear a whole growth argument from the SoFi bulls that you're paying for growth when JP Morgan's profitability grew by like 9% year over year last year. And I'm worried because, look, banks and financial institutions trade off of book value. They typically have a much lower EPS or PE off the EPS, and they don't normally get big valuations on book like tech companies. And SoFi is trading bigger than one of the biggest premiums. Most trade at a slight discount to maybe 20 or 30% a book. And with banks, you're buying a book of assets that generate revenue and profitability from lending out deposits on the balance sheet to generate interest income on the lending. That is a primary function of a bank. So SoFi needs to change that narrative. And unless they are looked at as a tech company, I don't know how much more the market can expand the multiple off of book value when there's a much better reason to give JP Morgan a bigger valuation than SoFi for a bank.
Do you feel the loan platform's acceleration could change that narrative?
It could if it adds book value to the company. I mean, it's certainly bullish. They're doing a great job. And the big thing about these deals that they're inking is these are all loans that SoFi would not be writing themselves. So it's just going to add fee-based revenue with no credit risk to them. So it's super bullish. But once again, in order for SoFi to really grow its share price, its book value needs to increase. Its book value has gone from like $5.08 to $6.10 or whatever it is over the past year and a half. It's not a big jump.
Okay, so the thesis of the article, and again, I'm putting it right here in the chat, people can check it out, is until the narrative changes, you feel a bit underwhelmed by their potential.
Yeah, I think that this is a situation where they are in a position where they can certainly thrive. But in order to do that, they have to be looked at as the AWS of fintech. Otherwise, they're going to be looked at as a bank. Because if they're not the AWS of fintech, what are they? Well, they're a financial institution. Invest, checking, savings, credit cards, lending, that's a bank. That's a financial institution. I don't know any other way to put it out there. That's a typical financial institution numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Let's transition to Google because this is a stock that you are very bullish on. You believe people are kind of crazy for not looking at its core value.
It's becoming a sum of the parts argument the way GE was. People thought GE was dead money for the longest time, and then you had them spin out GE Healthcare. I mean, and now look at GE's chart.
So let me play this quick clip on Google, and then I want to get your reaction to what you think of it.
Really strong thesis that Google's search revenue, this goes back 2 years, that their search revenue is going to completely collapse, I believe that they end up losing anywhere between 25 and 50% of their traffic, their search traffic. And I believe that the value of shopping integrations, advertising integrations into large language models is going to be monetized at a meaningfully lower rate than traditional search marketing. So I think overall, they could, their search revenue, which is about 85% of their revenue, I believe, could get cut by about 50%, even if they are integrating it into Gemini over the long term. And I think that could be absolutely devastating for Google over the next few years. Ironically, I believe that Google is actually going to be potentially one of the largest AI powerhouses if we look out 10 years, 10 or 15 years. So I'm at odds, but I think short term, there's massive risk that's being overlooked in the market. I think that earnings call they just had was confusing because of the $8 billion Starlink gain that they had. We've seen this stuff in the past with Amazon and Rivian, and it's just shocking to me that the market doesn't, focus more on those one-time gains.
What do you think? Is Google?
Why did you just waste my time with that?
What do you mean waste your time?
So is Starlink its own company?
He meant to say SpaceX, not to say Starlink.
But I'm asking you a question. Is Starlink its own company?
Well, it's under SpaceX, to my understanding.
Is it its own company?
No.
The person clearly said on live TV, $8 billion gain based on.
Steve, that was a mistake. That was a typo. That's
I clearly don't know what they're talking about. And there was nothing in the net income from it. It was a gain on the balance sheet. It was an equity gain.
Well, if you think Chris Camillo cares about the balance sheet or the income statement, you've got his trading style wrong.
I'm just saying.
His broader point is no one cares about blue links. And my question to you is, should investors be concerned about that?
So you know that I happen to like Chris, and I think he's an incredible investor, and I've said some things privately to you that I don't know if we should repeat that could be taken out of context. But I'll just say, I think from an investment standpoint, people are going to argue this, but I think that I would rather listen to his investment choices than Warren Buffett's from a stock aspect.
You have said that before, yes.
But at the same time, Alphabet is not losing in search right now. All these arguments have been made since ChatGPT came out. And let's look at Q1. You had Perplexity, you had ChatGPT, you had Gemini, you had Grok, you had Llama, you had all the models. You had people using it all through Q1. Q1 just ended in search grew quarter over quarter and year over year. So I don't see them losing search. And even if search just flatlines or if it goes down by $5 billion a year or $10 billion a year, it's not 80% of the revenue. It's more like 55% or something like that. And YouTube, Google Cloud can grow to pick up the slack. Even if this company stopped or shed, I don't know, 20 billion in revenue, it'd still be undervalued, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, Google's financials, I'm just putting it up on the screen. They're absolutely incredible, and the growth has been strong. The one thing that is sucked on this is the search revenue growth rates. And your point is just to ignore it, essentially, is what I'm getting from you?
The growth rates on search isn't that important when you look at the amount. This is, right now, the most profitable company in the market on a net income basis in Q1. They are in a position to be the most profitable company in the market for the entire year. Search doesn't even need to grow anymore. It just needs to keep doing what it's doing. And Alphabet will be able to buy back so many shares that their EPS is going to jump the same way Apple manufactured EPS does.
So you think as long as they don't lose market share, they don't need to grow market share? That's your point.
They don't need to grow market share on search by any means. That can plateau and just flatline. They have so many other businesses. And if Waymo does even a fraction of what people think Waymo is going to do, that could be a $100 billion valuation on its own to $500 billion.
Well, someone put out a tweet yesterday. This was interesting. I don't know if you saw it, but they said, call me crazy, but if Waymo continues to execute, I think it can be worth $1 trillion alone in under 10 years.
I mean, I think that's a stretch, but certainly with the way some things are valued, it could be. I mean, 10 years is a long time. But the bottom line is you're not getting a single penny of valuation on Waymo. People are forgetting that it owns the entire Android ecosystem. People are forgetting that YouTube is its own standalone company inside of the Alphabet ecosystem. And Google Cloud grew at 28% year over year. And there's more demand that they can meet with cloud. So they have so many other business lines that can pick up the slack if search just plateaus. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying the whole argument that I should be bearish on a company that's generating almost $2 billion a week in profit.
I agree with you, by the way. I don't disagree.
Like they're not like, I don't understand why people don't think that they're going to figure it out. I mean, this has been talked about for so long that search is going to be impacted. Search is going to be impacted. And it's never impacted. And it's getting penalized for something that may or may not happen. And I would argue, even if it does not grow by a single penny ever again, it still won't be impacted because it's still going to be generating so much to the bottom line in net income and EPS.
Okay,
and
so
you look
let's
at their balance sheet.
Let's play that out. Let's play that out. Let's say search doesn't grow. What gets the street excited to buy the stock again?
If they increase buybacks at this level or just maintain buybacks at this level.
I don't like that answer though, Steve.
You never like that answer, but it's a truth.
Buybacks can't be the reason, bro. There's got to be something else.
Of course it can. Look what it did for Apple.
Yeah, look what it Apple's. Yeah, let's look what it did for Apple. I mean, like.
Okay, look at a 5-year chart of Apple, because they had negative growth for 1 or 2 years over the past 5 years on revenue.
So, okay,
tell me what they've done the past 5 years.
But it's kind of troubling that you can't tell me an actual growth vector outside of buybacks here.
I gave you YouTube. I gave you.
YouTube doesn't make money. YouTube does not make money. YouTube makes revenue. It doesn't make profits. We know YouTube doesn't make money, dude. Like YouTube's too expensive to operate. What do you mean? And like net income, like EPS growth is determined on net income. So forget YouTube. I thought you would say Waymo or robotics. That's what I would say because I don't have any other.
Well, how about Google Cloud? I said Waymo.
Yeah,
you
but
have
cloud,
robotics, you have quantum. There's a lot of things within their portfolio.
Sure, but it's not at the level.
Not to mention, tell me how much cash they have on the balance sheet.
They got $100 billion. They got a lot of cash.
Okay.
They got a lot.
And they're on track to generate $100 billion a year plus in net income. They can buy back so many shares and pump EPS and make it more valuable for every shareholder with every share they buy back. And they can also acquire companies if they want to. They can go buy whoever they want, pretty much.
Well, so that would be my answer. My answer would either be they beat Tesla with Waymo.
They should go buy IBM tomorrow. Is what they should do.
Okay, so someone else said that in the chat. That was the next thing I was going to say. Quantum. I mean, is that like the thing that we're ignoring? Willow?
Well, Quantum's. Right? I'm not pricing that in now. That's a future bet. I mean, Waymo's would be more accretive in the short term than Quantum, but at the same time, they should go buy IBM. They would gain an entire consulting business. They would be able to expand their AI.
Hey, hold on. IBM's $230 billion. You think they could afford to buy IBM?
Yeah, tomorrow.
No, but okay, so they can afford it. That's the wrong question. But would that be the right use of capital to spend on IBM?
I think it would be a good use of capital. It may not be the best use. But you gain an entire consulting division. You gain quantum and AI and cloud, which gets embedded into your offerings. I mean, it's a vertical acquisition. It works. You could go acquire cybersecurity company and get into the cybersecurity business and increase your offerings. There's a few things it could do. They should have bought IBM last year when I teased it.
And by the way, guys, for those saying YouTube makes money, yes, they make revenue. They made $36 billion. But someone please tell me, go through all the SEC documents you can find, if Google or Alphabet has ever said how much net income they get from YouTube.
I don't know that you can't say that they don't.
Well, they have never said how much actual bottom line profits.
I'll go through the 10Q tonight.
They've said it for cloud. They've said it for search. They've said it for their other bets, which are at a loss right now. They've never done it for YouTube because YouTube's too expensive to operate. Like, it's a great business, and I'm sure it makes some profit, but I don't think it's anything meaningful to that $100 billion net income line.
If YouTube was its own standalone company, it would be a $100 billion company plus.
I think it would be more than 100. I think it would be like 300-400.
I'm just saying. I'm being conservative.
It's a great asset. I just don't think it prints net income. It keeps people part of the Google ecosystem, which is really important. But Like, and they look at Netflix is not that profitable. And Netflix makes a profit, but it took them years to make it because the content is hard to make a profit on, even with Google taking 45% of the advertising revenue. So if someone can tell me the actual number that YouTube has made in profit, I doubt you'll be able to find it because Google has never disclosed it. I don't think YouTube, but my broader point here is YouTube will keep growing. That is not going to make Google a freaking $5 trillion company, right? And at what, $2 trillion investors would want over the next 10 years, at least a double from Google beating the S&P.
Well, I mean, look, sometimes look, too many people get caught up on revenue growth. Sometimes it actually is about profitability. And at the end of the day, the company that's making the largest amount of profit should be the most valuable company in the market until that profitability level gets exceeded. That's why Apple and Microsoft have always been the largest market cap companies for the past 5 years, because they've been the largest profitability companies. And it just started getting overtaken by Alphabet at times or by NVIDIA at times over the past 5 years. But it's because NVIDIA's revenue is nowhere near Apple or Microsoft's. It's because their net income is on track to exceed both this year. At some point, profitability does matter.
Yeah. And look, I think YouTube is probably worth a ton. I just don't think they make a profit. I don't think YouTube is what gets this thing to go to 4 or 5 trillion.
No,
I don't
think about what's
the market cap
now?
either.
What's the market cap? What's the market cap of Alphabet? 1.7?
It is 1.9.
Okay, 1.9. Some of the parts, this is probably worth more than 1.9 when you look at valuation metrics on where Microsoft and where Apple trade.
But no, so I agree it's worth more than 1.9. It's probably closer to where I would say it's probably closer to 2.5 around that.
That's what I was thinking, around that area.
So but Apple is overvalued, so I don't think that's a good comparison.
Oh, it depends who you ask.
Oh, it depends. No, it's Apple's overvalued.
Obviously, the market doesn't think it's overvalued.
Well, why can't we say that about Palantir? Why does this type of Steve come out about Apple, but it never comes out about Palantir?
Because Apple makes $100 billion a year in profit.
Yeah, but Carp is a
poet. Oh, Carp. Okay. Carp, all he does is sell shares.
Okay. All right. We did not need this type of stuff. You know what? That was a low blow. That's like your girl saying
there's nothing wrong with it.
What you just did is like your girl saying that you're you're like, your girl taking a cheap shot at you is what I'm trying to say. That was a cheap shot. All right. That was a cheap shot. That was absolutely a cheap shot. Having said that, no, in all seriousness. So okay. So YouTube, cloud, search, and then
quantum,
Android,
phone,
and then Waymo and Apptronic. Those are the sum of the parts. You
Waymo,
would say
their investment portfolio, and whatever else they want to do. Remember, they are one of the companies that can write a check and do whatever they want to do and compete in any outlet they want to compete in.
Yeah, look,
it's just hard to think that a company that's done what they've done, people are not going to give the benefit of the doubt that they're going to figure it out.
I'm not selling my Google, so I agree with you. I'm just trying to intellectually break down the argument and try to figure out what is the way this thing gets back to 200, 250, which I think most people would say is like closer to fair value.
Look, it becomes a valuation play. I mean, they had a pretty big beat on the top and bottom line in Q1, and these concerns were dealt with all throughout 2024 and in the beginning of 2025, yet they put up amazing numbers once again. So people are just afraid of what may or may not happen, and they're looking at other things.
Do you trust Sundar over the next decade?
Yeah, why not? Has he given anybody a reason not to?
You're the first person to tell me you actually trust him.
Has he given anybody? Look at the numbers. Has he given anybody a reason not to?
To be objective here, you know what the T in GPT stands for, right?
What does it stand for?
Transformer. And Google literally came up with transformer technology back in 2017, and somehow ChatGPT ends up being the biggest LLM.
Okay, it doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
That's a bit of an issue, though. That's a bit of an issue.
Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
It doesn't, but you can't tell me that's not making you. That doesn't make someone look back and be like, "Damn, did Google really think they were just going to be the king forever?"
All
and
right,
they
well,
forgot.
so they didn't become a front runner off the bat in something.
They
Okay?
made the they created the technology that LLMs are using, and ChatGPT ended up being the biggest LLM. Like, that is a little scary to me in terms of the culture of innovation at the company. Now, the business is so good, it might not matter long term, but
Did you ever watch the movie The Internship?
of course,
Okay, good. Thank God.
that movie,
You
2013,
didn't see it.
Vince Vaughn, dude. Of course I did.
You didn't see it. You had to Google it.
Ironically, I might. Who's Owen Wilson? Who is this guy?
Jesus.
I know who Vince Vaughn is. I don't know who Owen Wilson is. Is this a good movie?
Oh.
2013?
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. You know what rumor is being floated that I keep hearing now, and I have no idea who started it, that JP Morgan should buy SoFi and make Noto the COO, and then when Diamond retires, have Noto take over.
Who? That's actually not a crazy idea.
I don't know who started it, but the more I think about it, I'm like, that's not a half bad idea.
Dude,
Actually.
I don't think Anthony Noto would be a horrible CEO for. I think he would be a pretty phenomenal JP Morgan
Because
CEO.
he's already used to, and they were saying he's already used to going on the programs. He already has a relationship with Bloomberg and CNBC.
I actually love that idea, to be honest.
And it
I
would
love
give
that.
JP Morgan new growth vector, different clientele, and their own in-house proprietary infrastructure.
Dude, because like someone's got to replace Jamie Dimon one day, right?
And that's the thing that they said. They haven't even started talking about a successor. Like with Berkshire, we all knew it was going to be Greg Abel. They've been talking about it for years. Nobody's even talking about who's going to succeed Jamie Dimon, and he's probably going to retire in the next year or two.
Yeah, I mean, he did an interview 2 weeks ago and said he's getting ready. Like,
yeah. So that's a rumor that's getting started.
I'm gonna put a poll in the chat. Apparently, Jeremy from YouTube said this rumor.
Oh, it wasn't him. Because I don't watch his stuff. So.
Yeah, but someone might have quoted him on. You found it on
I don't
Twitter.
know where I saw it or who I heard it from, but.
Would Noto be a good JPM CEO? I think he would be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. An ex-Goldman guy.
But then the question is, how much does Jamie Dimon pay for SoFi?
Oh, who cares? Put me out of my misery.
I think maybe $20, $25. Take them out.
Dude, it could be 18. Who cares? Whatever.
That's an original idea. I've never heard of that idea. I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, and just for clarity for everybody listening, I did not come up with that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Not bad. Yeah, I think that would be interesting. All right, so let's by the way, does everyone know who Owen Wilson is? Why are you guys getting mad at me? I don't know this guy.
Can you tell them the movie I told you to watch? And
oh, I almost bought it last night. All right, so I will buy it. I will pay the $4 to YouTube and contribute to Google's dying business and buy this movie or rent it if you guys tell me it's a good movie. All right. The movie is called Cocktail with Tom Cruise. The reason Steve wants me to watch this is because I said in my new apartment, I want to have my own bar and like learn how to bartend drinks and stuff like that. And he said, you should watch Cocktail with Tom Cruise. So is that now? IMDb says 5.9 out of 10, which is
you can't listen to anything. So I want to know what everybody's saying because obviously I can't read what's on the screen.
Okay, let me make another poll. Let's see. First of all, 68% of you said yes, Noto would be a good CEO. Okay, watch Cocktail, yes or no? I'm seeing some no's, Steve. I'm seeing some people not really loving this movie. I saw the trailer last night on YouTube, and I was gonna buy it, and I saw the trailer, and I'm not gonna. I was like, the trailer is kind of trash, and I was like, I don't feel like watching this. Yeah, 52% say no.
Really, I'm surprised.
Yeah, people don't love it.
I'm surprised.
It's basically 50-50 here, but I'm looking for my next good movie to watch, guys. No one's ever had a real good recommendation, so hopefully we can get to that next movie soon. Okay, can we talk about Amazon? Because you've been chirping about this one a little bit. Well, what's getting you excited right here about Amazon?
Yeah, it's the biggest deep value company that I see right now.
Okay, so deep value is a hell of a term. Why is this deep value?
Well, look, when the Spider Index has it as its third biggest holding in their value ETF, and you're getting that much growth from what they're considering a value company, then it's hard to say it's not deep value. I mean, the fact that Amazon's even considered value now is crazy. And the fact that it's not trading at 250 is crazy.
So you you don't think anything should be discounted against the tariff risk or
No.
I mean, like, I agree with you. AWS is a monster. It's just they sell a lot of stuff from China, Steve.
We're still in its infancy for generative AI and for their cloud offerings. There's still, I saw a statistic the other day that something like 70 or 80% of businesses still run on-prem servers and haven't even gone to a hybrid in the cloud. There is so much more room for growth in this.
So you're buying because of AWS?
I thought AWS would top out at like a 300 billion run rate. This thing in the next decade could get between 500 to a trillion in revenue.
Well, Bezos is selling $5 billion.
Bezos is also buying mansions all over the place, building boats, and looking to buy a sports team.
No, I agree. It's just some pressure on the stock, you know, every time it breaks out. So, yeah, but I agree with you. There's not even a thesis to Amazon because it's freaking Amazon. Like, it's one of those things you don't have to really worry about. Whatever price.
I see more Amazon trucks on the street than UPS and FedEx combined. I see more packages in my building from Amazon than anywhere else. And their international and North American segments are both profitable. Margins are slowly getting better. And at some point, when they pump the brakes on CapEx a little bit, profitability is going to shoot through the roof. And then when they initiate a buyback program, it's going to go haywire.
Okay, so let's ask this poll to the chat. I think it's going to be 80-20 in favor of one stock. Better over 10 years, Amazon or Google. I think you guys are going to put Amazon 80-20 on this poll. Steve, I think I know your answer.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one of them, it's Amazon right now.
Wow, 79-20. Talk about calling it, bro.
Yeah, even though I think that Alphabet's a better value, I just think Amazon's got more upside potential between the two.
That's kind of wild, though, that Google's trading at a real, like Amazon's at a discount. Google's at a real discount, but still everyone thinks the next 10 years, Amazon's the better bet.
But also think about it. Amazon at 20 times 2027 earnings. Like, what are we even talking about? Look where their real competitors are Walmart and Costco and Microsoft. When you break out what they do, look where all of them are trading at 2027 earnings.
Yeah.
I think Microsoft's around 26 times or something like that, 27 times. And then Walmart and Costco are like 32 and 45. It's sick.
People are talking about Amazon's margins. Again, their operating margins are now almost 12%. I think by 2030, they would be close to 10%.
And as they get more proficient with robotics, and as the new price of oil gets distributed throughout the economy, you're going to watch expenses go down and margins expand. Like, I don't think that that's something people are really accounting for, is how much efficiency is going to get driven through robotics with Amazon.
Well, can we talk about another Mag 7 that had a pretty exciting day? By the way, for everyone asking about NVIDIA, Steve's thoughts on NVIDIA hasn't changed. I mean, he's bullish on NVIDIA, and so am I. Is Trump live right now? Hold on. Steve, we might have to listen to some Trump right here.
Okay. If I get home while you're still playing it, I will just log back in when I get upstairs.
Are you close to being home right now?
Yeah, 5-10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, just started. He's doing some executive orders, bro. Some executive orders.
Well, is it chip stuff?
I'll pull this up right here.
Standards for household appliances and certain consumer products.
He'll probably do Q&A in a bit, and that's when we'll actually know.
I know who did this. Explain that, please.
Sure. Look, this is helping fight inflation because the cost of the burden on appliance manufacturers is going to drive up the cost of them producing household products, which means that when you go buy a washer, dryer, any appliance, it was going to drive up the cost for consumers. It reduces consumer choice. But in the bottom line, we've been trying to fight inflation. This fights inflation. This helps takes the cost out of producing these products that Americans need every day. And when you add all this up, it's one regulation here, one regulation there. They always say it's de minimis, but when you add it all up, it costs a lot to American consumers, and this is fighting back.
And it's not as good.
And it's not as good.
Not nearly as good, not nearly as efficient, and more costly. Other than that, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, so I don't think anything too crazy is going on there. I think they'll do Q&A in a bit, and then we'll get some quotes. This is probably delayed. It probably happened an hour ago, and now we're actually getting the live feed because there's always a delay. But yeah, we'll listen to whenever he does Q&A. What I was going to ask you, Steve, is about Tessie. It's up 5% today. Any thoughts on why this stock is back at 300?
Yeah, I don't really care about it anymore. I'm over it.
Are you over it because you don't believe in the company anymore, or what's going on?
I just don't think that it has the upside potential that I thought. I think he did too much brand damage to it, and I just don't believe the robotaxi is gonna be the miracle that some people think it's gonna be. And I mean, if my cover calls don't get called away, I'm not gonna sell it, but I'm certainly not gonna roll again. I'll let the shares get taken away at this point.
So you think this pump to 307 today was just what, nonsense? It wasn't real?
No, obviously it's real. I just think that the next quarter earnings are going to be not good.
Okay, well, Kathy Wood said that it's going to
2600. I saw
2600.
it. Trust me, I saw.
So what do you have to say about her?
Out of their minds.
You don't think there's any shot that this happens?
So you're telling me it's going to 9x from here in the next 4.5 years?
I'm asking you if you think there's a shot it could happen.
No, I don't.
Zero chance.
I mean, I'd say 1%. How about that? You can't say zero.
So why do you think Kathy's saying this?
I have no idea, but they've been wrong the entire time.
I do think this is why it pumped today, because why else would it go up 8%? You know, like outside of her inspiring retail investors to think it's going to be a 10%.
Just think about this, okay? That would put it at what, 8.5 to 9 trillion market cap?
Yeah, 9 trillion. Yeah.
Okay. So 9 trillion market cap. And Apple, Alphabet, Nvidia, and Microsoft have all traded between 2.5 to 3.5 billion at their highs over the past year or so. None of them have exceeded 110 billion in profitability in a year.
That's true.
Okay. How are you going to 3x their market caps and not generate? Because there's very limited chance that they're going to even get to 100 billion of profitability over the next 4.5 years. Okay. I don't see them tripling the market caps of companies that are already there. Like at some point, in order to become that big of a company, they may be the biggest company in the market at that point. You have to do what everybody else isn't doing. Alphabet, their revenues, what, 250, 300 billion? Same with Apple, same with Microsoft. I don't know.
Are we buying
this whole story?
Are we underestimating like the scale and magnitude of how expansive? Like when Elon says, you know, Tesla can be worth more than the top 5 companies combined. Is it?
No, because if you said 15 or 20 years, I buy that. But you're saying, they're saying 4.5 years. I'm not buying that. It's all about time duration, because these other companies don't have the bot platform the way that Tesla does. And that is the key to all of it. But we did the math. You did the math with me. Even at $1 per mile, ride hailing does not make sense to replace vehicles for personal use.
Right.
So if robots is a 10 to 15 year thing, then I don't know. I'm not seeing how autonomous is going to be the big thing that drives it to that type of market cap, especially when you look at the research companies saying ride hailing is not going to get bigger than 400 billion by the end of the decade.
So over the next decade, you'd Google or Tesla?
I mean, look, from an upside potential, because of what Tesla's already done, it's hard to not say.
Dude, why are you so bearish Google today, dude? This is not the same Steve from 2 weeks ago. This is not.
You're asking the question a very certain way, though.
But you're pretty bearish on this valuation at these levels. How do you think in the next 10 years, if it is appropriately valued, you would rather want to hold Tesla over Google?
I would rather hold Alphabet. You asked what I think is going to do better. People seem not to care about numbers for some reason. I mean, keep in mind, Tesla's still trading at what, a 40% discount from its highs?
I'd rather own Tesla too, dude. I agree with you. I'm just saying it's like it pure potential wise, it would be weird to own 10 blue links over Optimus.
Agreed.
Numbers wise, it might make more sense too.
I would rather be in it for the bot platform, as I think that's going to be the biggest game changer for anybody.
Yeah. Wow, Open Door is down 22% on the day. I don't know if
what happened.
I guess they had a crappy earnings or something. That's
good thing you didn't buy them.
We dodged. I texted Steve in December.
Not we. Don't say we.
I was trying to convince him. I was like, dude, Open Door. Maybe there's something here. And then we spent an hour going through it. And then Chris joined as well. And we looked at their margins and it was so bad, dude. It was so disgustingly bad.
I think that they had a huge opportunity and they blew it. I think they absolutely blew what was a huge opportunity.
But see, this is why you need friends who understand investing. Like I trust Steve and Chris a lot. So once I brought it up to them and we actually went under the hood, it was pretty easy to realize it would be a stupid investment, On top of that, we didn't get rate cuts. That's what we really.
The only thing that was going to save them was rate cuts, because you need a housing market to actually have activity again.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we knew that wasn't happening. Otherwise, it could have been good.
Yeah, if we had rate cuts, I think this thing would be closer to 4 or 5.
And plus, they need to transform into an Angie's List type company where they stack every service into it and come in with a built-in ecosystem from everything from contractor to plumbing to electrician, and create full on-demand ecosystem for anybody who buys a house through them.
You want to know the top 5 companies that are traded in the financial derivatives market today?
Oh, this should be good.
Why don't you guess? Take a guess of the top 5.
Palantir, NVIDIA.
You got 2 of them.
Robinhood.
Okay, 2 more. Guess.
Really? Robinhood's in there?
No, I'm just make your guesses. Make your guesses.
Tesla.
No, it's Tesla, NVIDIA, MicroStrategy, Palantir, Apple. So you got Palantir and. Oh, we're losing him. We're losing him. The road rage got him. All right, so we're gonna switch over to Trump. Steve's probably getting home. He probably went under a tunnel, which is why we lost him. Let's switch over to Trump. He's doing Q&A, and then we'll get Steve probably in like 5-10 minutes. All right, here we go. Here's Q&A from Trump.
The rest of them in, but we always have a baseline of 10%.
And then specifically on the possibility of an increase in taxes on wealthier Americans, what do you say to conservative Republicans who argue that this is an increase on small business owners?
Well, what we're doing is we're actually, if we ever did that, it would only be, and from what I hear, people would love to do it, rich people. I would love to do it, frankly, but what we'll do is that, they'll go around saying, oh, this is so terrible. What you do it is you're giving up something up top in order to make people in the middle income and the lower income brackets save more. So it's really a redistribution. And I'm willing to do it if they want. I would love to be able to give people in a lower bracket a big break by giving up some of what I have. But I'll tell you, a lot of people say don't do it because of the fact that you have the Bush statement about read my lips, but he lost because of Ross Perot. He didn't lose because of that statement.
And then on the salt.
But I don't think they're going to be doing it, but I actually think it's good politics to do it where richer people give up, and it's a very small, it's like a point, but they give it up to benefit people on lower income.
And then on the salt tax credits, Mr. President, there are some Republicans who say, why is it that these 45 other states should be paying taxes to alleviate the tax burden of New York? Or
It's
some of
only
these
because
coastal
those states are behind, very badly behind, and those people were affected very badly. And, you know, the sad part is oftentimes they were affected badly because you had bad management in those states, like in California with Newsom and, you know, people. So you had some bad management. But that's being worked on now, and they may do a piece one way or the other. It's a very complex issue, but I think it's being worked out. I think it's going to be. It has not been settled yet, but they'll settle it up pretty quickly.
Are you considering?
Mr. President, what parameters have you given Scott Bessent on negotiating with China this weekend?
We have to make a great deal for America.
Are you going to be disappointed if he comes back without a deal?
No, not at all. Because we already made a great deal. We're not doing business with China right now. You know, we lost $1 trillion last year with China, $1 trillion. So if you're not going to do business with them, you're not going to lose $1 trillion. But we lost. I want China to do great. You know, I'm very friendly with President Xi. I have great respect for him and for China, but we can't continue to allow them to do what they did. When I was president, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and taxes. And then Biden screwed it all up. What he did to this country between the border and between all of the other problems, the wars, everything, what he did to this country should never be forgotten. But one of the things he did is the trade was so bad and so imbalanced. So I think we're going to come back with a fair deal for both China and us.
Have you given Bessent a number of how low you're willing to go?
Yeah.
What's the number? Share that number? Is that
No.
the 80%?
But I put out a number today, 80%, so we'll see how that all works out.
Mr. President, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv is warning right now about possible Russian significant attack on Kyiv. What's your message for Putin?
I have a message for both parties. Get this war ended. We're losing 5,000 soldiers a week, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers, and other people also, by the way. And I say, get this stupid war finished. That's my message for both of them. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Russ. We're heading out. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Right out through there. Thank
He
you.
just came in to say hello. Almost nothing. He came in to say hello. It was very nice. And I think he came in to thank me, frankly. I mean, I would say the primary reason, but he was very nice. He's a nice man. But I think he actually came in to thank me.
Is he complying with ICE like you'd like to see?
You'd have to ask Tom Homan.
Mr. President, do you have a reaction to Bill Gates' comments yesterday that the cuts in USAID will lead to millions of deaths of children around the
I
world?
don't know anything about his comments.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Let's head out. Thank you all. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Let's start moving.
All right. So I don't know if you guys heard this specific part, but this is what's making the headlines right now. Trump said two things out of all that actually mattered. Trump is like a myth, says he's done and goes for another 20 minutes. Dude, we're both very alike in that respect. He said exceptions to bring tariffs down to 10% baseline are possible. And then he said we will basically always have a 10% baseline tariff. So, well, if we end up with a flat 10% tariff across the board, like the market thought would happen on April 2nd, then the one thing Trump will have given us in April was a dip, a beautiful dip. And we know that retail bought the dip, the hedge fund sold. So, I mean, if this is how this ends up playing out, if this is how this ends up playing out, where we went through all of this, $11 trillion of money lost in the stock market, all of this back and forth, bond yields going crazy, yada, yada, just to come back down to a 10% flat rate, maybe 20 or 30% on China, but 10% across the rest of the world, which is almost exactly what the market had priced in. That's why on April 2nd, remember we were up after hours, right when Trump was speaking in those first 10 minutes, and then they brought over that big board with all the reciprocal tariffs, and then we went down 15%, like over the coming week. That is exactly what the market thought would happen. And if we get right back to that a month later, all of this, literally all of this, was just an opportunity to buy the dip. And a possible recession. Well, that's also fair because there's a lot of volatility and we don't have these trade deals secured yet. So even if they bring them down to 10%, it will take time to negotiate these deals, which could lead to a slowdown in the economy. So it could lead to a recession. However, a slowdown is not the worst thing because that could get J-Pow to want to cut rates unless a slowdown, leads to a more horrific outcome. But outside of that, I mean, it kind of feels like everything we went through was not necessarily something we needed to go through. I will say if the 40, 50, 70% tariffs against the Penguin Islands was enough to get countries to be so scared that they came to the negotiating table with a more open heart because they actually think Trump was crazy enough to tariff them at that rate, maybe that was the intended point of doing what he did. But if that's not the case, then all we did was get a dip. And we know, we looked at many charts this week. We know retail bought the dip to the tune of about 80 billion over the past few months, March and April. And by the way, the street bought the dip in the context of companies that are publicly listed on the street, even if not hedge funds on the street. Take a look at this chart right here. Look at the buybacks, bro. Look at the buybacks of May of 2025. Do you freaking see that candle go up? We have had a decent chunk of buybacks in Q1. This is from Bloomberg, and it says the Q1 earnings season has seen a huge surge in buyback announcements to record highs, the highest amount of buyback since January of 2019. So if you're talking about retail buying the dip, companies buying the dip on their own stock, and hedge funds going short the highest since 2022 and their Max 7 exposure going the lowest since 2023, then this might end up being a little bit more squeezy going into the summer if we get trade deals, if we get rate cuts, and if we get hedge funds that realized they messed up. They read the situation wrong. They thought Trump was going to, have these crazy tariffs on forever. In reality, it was only going to last like a few weeks, if that. And their short positioning is going to have to turn into covering that short. They're going to have to get more exposure to the Max 7. These are the best companies in the world. And hopefully that will lead to higher equity prices going into the end of the summer. But it feels like that could be what's happening here. All right, he's back. We got him back. There he is.
I'm going to give you a piece of advice.
Okay.
If you ever move in to a community where there's an HOA, never run for the board.
Are you on the board of yours in the community?
Not just on the board, but I'm the president of the board.
And
I will tell. Well, I never actually ran. I got appointed because I opened my mouth up at a couple of shareholder meetings, and then there was a vacancy, and then somebody nominated me, and somebody seconded it, and I was not smart enough to turn it down.
Okay, but don't you think it gives you more purpose in life?
You don't. I gotta tell you, everybody stops you.
So why don't you just quit? Just step down as president.
It's not that easy.
I mean, it sounds like you kind of enjoy it.
I don't. Trust me, I don't.
It sounds like you like the power.
No. It takes so much time.
Yeah, there's everyone in the chat is saying HOA boards are the worst.
The worst.
All right, well, I don't know if you caught this, but Trump just said we're probably going to get back to a 10% baseline on tariffs.
Market tanking?
Market's not really reacting, but it's kind of, I kind of think the market thought this would happen, which is why we had 9 straight days of green, right?
Okay.
Like, he basically said exceptions to bring down tariffs to 10% are possible. We will basically always have a 10% baseline.
Yeah, whatever.
And by the way, I know you love the whole the buyback argument. I think you just saw that chart right there. That, we're having some record buybacks. So there you go.
Yeah. It's the most efficient use of capital to increase shareholder value. As much as I love dividends, buybacks do more for shareholders.
There you go. All right. Dude, isn't Steve jacked? Steve, you're literally, like, this shirt makes you look jacked, bro.
What are you talking about?
You look jacked, bro.
Dude, I don't work out.
Well, you worked out a long time ago, and now you
Yeah, a long time ago. Like, I used to be jacked. I'm not jacked.
you looked freaking jacked. Everyone says
Nah.
jacked. Everyone say jacked. He looks jacked. He
I'm
looks.
not. I'm really not.
Well, if I'm going to be called the CEO of AK Media forever, you're going to be called Jack forever. That's how we're going to do this.
Sure.
Because these guys cannot let go of this.
Yeah, I used to be. Definitely not anymore.
Dude, so I was talking about this in the morning. Do you want to put give some words to this? The idea that as you get older, time seems to fly by way quicker.
So much quicker.
I was telling them you and I were on the phone, and I was like, dude, it's already like I'm gonna be 28 in 3 months, and you're like, dude, imagine when you get to 40. Like it's just
Yeah, it's incredible.
And I don't know why it feels like that as you get older, but it just feels like that. Like it didn't feel like that when you were a kid, right? At 18 years old.
No, it felt like you had all the time in the world, and it felt like time stood still. But I also do think there are things that have come out that makes it the appearance of speeding up. If you didn't have cell phones or yogurt or social media.
Did you say yogurt? You
well, somebody said it, so I echoed.
Did you have your yogurt today?
No, I didn't.
What'd you eat today? Can you tell us what you ate today? What did you have?
Today, this is how much time I had. Okay, the only thing I had to eat today was a salad. That's it.
Oh, that's how busy you were. Wow.
That's how busy I was.
So you didn't have your yogurt yet?
No, I didn't have my drinkable yogurt yet. I didn't have any of that stuff.
This is Steve's Twitter, by the way, guys. He is 100 followers away from 10,000. So if anyone's on X and wants,
do I have that many? Holy cow!
He started to tweet a little bit more because I've been forcing him to put out some more content. So yeah, look at that, dude. 100 away from 10 grand. So that would be pretty cool.
Nice.
You guys can follow him. You can check him out there.
And if anybody leaves a comment in the SoFi article, I will respond.
Are you meeting up with the dairy dealer this weekend?
I will be sending a text tomorrow for my order, and I will be going on Sunday.
It's incredible, dude. It's
absolutely
incredible.
Why is it incredible?
It's just cool to have a dairy dealer. That's all. That's all. Hey, by the way, where is this photo from? Like, is it from like 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, it's not recent.
Okay. You look the same though. You don't really look that different. So, is that Steve's HOA? Oh my gosh. Is that Clark Kent? That's what I've been calling him. It's Clark Kent. The experiment to thank you for the $5 super chat. It's because 1 year is less and less of a percentage of your life the older you get. Yeah, that's fair, right?
I also don't think back in the day you had things to waste your time with the way that you do now.
What do you mean?
How many hours do you spend scrolling through X? Or Instagram Shorts or something like that?
For me, it's X. It's probably like 5
Yeah,
hours.
I don't know. I think you can look up and 2 hours have gone by and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, that is fair. I mean, it is kind of crazy, right? Like if you spend hours a day just like doing things that and get distracted by them, you know, life goes by, you know, things happen. That's why I don't watch movies. I don't, you know, I try to live life.
Because every good movie we've told you to watch, you don't watch. So
I'm gonna actually try to finish The Godfather this weekend, dude. I'm gonna actually try.
Like I could just start rattling off movies again. You haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, we've gone through that enough times to know.
And I was actually going to say that we should start looking at oil companies again.
Because the prices are getting cheap.
Well, how come nobody's talking about the price of gas is so low right now?
Well, I don't get gas anymore because
I know because you have a Tesla.
But I see them. Yeah, they're like in the low 2s.
Yeah. But I thought that wasn't going to happen.
Dude, did you see Dumb Money make fun of me for my my freaking I gotta show you this. I didn't even show the chat this. They fucking roasted me for remember when I posted the picture of The Godfather on freaking
yes.
on Twitter?
Well, they're making fun of you.
They roasted me for having the sticker on the TV.
Oh yeah, of course.
And they really think I did it for engagement. They don't believe me that like I just had the sticker.
Is that fake? Is it
Is that
real?
engagement farming?
Dude,
I gotta take this. Give me 1 sec.
I didn't even know the sticker. Okay, no worries. So Steve's taking a call, but dude, they really thought I was engagement farming with this.
So glad that we could pull him in. You know, Amit, the reason we were talking about you is because you triggered trades in both me and Chris's portfolios today, just from your coverage of the news, which is great. If you're not following Amit is investing on X, you're missing out. Turn on the alerts for that, and his YouTube channel is amazing.
I do have a huge question for him, actually, Dave. Dude,
is it related to his TV?
Yes. Could you just tell us? Admit to us. Did you put that on there for views? Is that fake? Is
that
real?
engagement farming?
Dude, I swear on my life, I didn't even know the sticker was still there. Like, we bought that TV in 2020. I don't know if it's an Indian household thing or we just never took it off. And then everyone in the comments is not talking about me watching Godfather for the first time. They're talking about this sticker. And I was like, what sticker? And then I'm like, oh shit, this is 5 years old.
Okay, so this is wild to me. I'm not going to stop thinking about this for a very long time, Amit. And this is honestly going to define you in my head, maybe for as long as we know each other. I'm now actually oddly more intrigued with you as an investor because, you know, there's something weird going on in your brain, which might end up being really beneficial as an investor, but it is super messed up. As just
I don't watch TV, so I don't. That the one night I sat down to, you know,
I've got
an idea. You have to take that sticker off live on YouTube.
It's still on there, by the way. I just didn't feel the necessity to take it off. It's still there.
You've got to do that live.
Dave, could you show the pic? Dave, could you pull it up?
I'm scrolling through.
Maybe is it an more of a cultural thing? Now I'm curious. Like, I'm going to research this. Is it a?
They're about to show the pic, but is it that crazy to have a sticker on your TV still?
Yes.
Like, I don't think it. Look, they're about to show the pic. I don't think it's that crazy.
You take it off immediately.
Dude, it's been on for almost 6 years now. Like, we just haven't.
But once again, is it over the screen or just the border?
I don't even know.
Because if it's over the screen, you're trapping heat in there.
I feel like it's not over the screen. I feel like we would have known that by now. But
and you have a glare, and I do think it's on the screen from the picture you showed me.
Thing maybe
it's or you just forget about it. Some people just forget, and like when something is in front of you every day of your life, it doesn't exist.
No,
right?
you
So I think the sticker just doesn't
forget.
exist in their mind. But
I get
you've got to peel it off.
That would bother me.
We got to see it. We got to see it happen.
For whatever reason, I cannot find the picture.
Dude, I can't find it. I think I tweet a little aggressively. I can't even find this thing. But no, it's not a culture. We don't have plastic on our couch or something like that. Like it's not that. It's just I don't know. We never took the freaking sticker off the TV, and everyone freaked out about it. And this is the second time because I posted another picture during Christmas when I was watching a holiday movie. And there was a sticker on a TV in a different room, and it was a sticker on a Roku TV. And so Chad, who's one of my friends, he got annoyed because this was the second time that this happened on a different TV in a different room. And so he's more pissed off than you, Chris. He's like, why the hell do you not take the stickers off?
I think it's because you have such extreme focus, and probably your whole family is like this. I bet your whole family is so focused on the things that they are focused on, right? Whether it's family, career, like it's very impressive, quite honestly.
Yeah, look at that.
Because they don't have time
That's
to deal
on your
with the
screen.
Dude, I think I have to
Look
make
at
a video.
those fingerprints. That's on your screen, buddy.
I have to make a video this weekend taking off this sticker.
You need to take that off. Is there glare on the TV when you watch it sometimes?
I mean, I don't really watch a lot of TV, so I don't know. It's just in the living room. It's just there.
Well, yeah, that's true because you sent me pictures of you trying to watch a movie on your tablet. Like, what are you doing?
No, on my laptop, on my tablet.
Same thing.
A lot of times on my phone, but
ridiculous.
Because they got real crap going.
But what I want to know, I don't care about the sticker. What I want to know is, does the sticker, is it part of? And I told Chris I might have a fetish about this. Is it part of like the whole TV screen cover?
We're gonna find out today. I'll take a picture.
So I can't find the original tweet. This is how it's gone viral, and I was able to find the sticker gate. Now, also these fingerprints really bother me, and I'm wondering, is there a clear sticker across the entire screen?
That's what I'm getting at, Dave. I want there to be a clear sticker across the entire thing, and you just pull it off, and like, oh, can you imagine how great that'll be?
A small part of me thinks Amit's playing all of us and everybody and put it on there. I really do. I might have this whole thing backwards. And look at him laughing. And he's just playing everybody. And he just casually had that on. It was a joke, and he's just gonna let it run.
I wish I was that good at getting people's attention. Can I just give a Dude, this is the picture right here. Like,
I mean, is this legitimately Stickergate? Like, did you put that on before the thing?
No. Like, How many people actually think I put on a freaking sticker because for some reason I thought it would get people's attention? Like, do people really think I would go that far to make a post? Like, no, bro, I just freaking posted it. I was like, oh, I'm watching The Godfather. That's it. I don't think it's the whole screen, guys. I don't think it's the whole screen. I hope not.
Why don't you go find out?
I will find out today. I will find out. That'd be wild if it was the whole screen, dude. That'd be wild. That would be wild. All right. I think that's it. Ending out the week. It's a wild week. Palantir earnings, FOMC, trade deals.
I think we need to look at energy because I think we're not looking at how much energy we're going to need over the next couple of years. And I think with oil where it is, there may be some good buys.
You know, nuclear stocks pumped today because Trump's thinking of getting rid of some regulation that allows them to get more investment. It's up 5% Oklo.
You should.
I agree. You should. But I agree with you. I mean, like, we're gonna need. Also, you know, ET was in the top 20 stocks traded yesterday in terms of options.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, it's freaking Energy Transfer. Why is that in the top 20? Like, I was so shocked. I thought of you as soon as I saw it.
Energy Transfer, 125,000 miles of pipeline. Can't recreate it.
There you go. All right, folks. I think that's it. Steve's Twitter right here in the chat. Again, you can follow him out, his Seeking Alpha. I will put that here. There will be a Palantir Weekly tonight. Steve, you're getting very close to 10,000, by the way. So if you guys want to follow
thank you, everyone.
Palantir Weekly, 11 p.m. Eastern, will be on tonight. We will be discussing earnings. I believe Matt, Arnie, and myself.
Ooh.
And
Palantir Weekly, huh?
Yeah, we'll be if Steve wants to pop on, he can pop on. Tell us how much he loves Palantir.
We'll see.
But yeah, outside of that, that's it for today. And then tomorrow, nothing. And then Sunday, we're back on the futures. Hopefully, we get some good news from Switzerland. And we start again next week.
All right.
On from there.
Well, you need to figure out a movie to watch this weekend.
I'm gonna watch The Godfather. I really am.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit down. I'm actually no. Like I'm actually like I'm tired of people making fun of me. I'm like legit. No, like I'm gonna sit down and just watch this stupid movie and
leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Whatever phrases I can get from it, I will try to internalize. You know what? I want to watch movies so that I could talk about them on the show.
So you actually know what people are talking about?
And so that I could bring up cultural references and sound cool. Because it's really cool when you can pull up a stat around something or like a historical fact and just put that out there, because then people think of you as like, oh, this person is well-rounded in terms of their knowledge base around the world, right? So I try to do that with stocks and, you know, all these different stories around historical things and trends and data. But with movies, it's like, I can tell you about The Dark Knight.
I mean, the fact that you've never seen Top Gun or Days of Thunder is heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know Top Gun Maverick was a big deal, but I never.
No, not Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun the original.
No, but that one went viral like 2 years ago, right? That movie really...
and for a lot of good reasons, it went viral. There'll never be another movie like it.
Yeah, I've got to watch it. Maybe in the new apartment, I want to get like a really big ass TV.
Put an 85-incher in.
I want to get one of those couches, bro, that like kind of stretches around, but like I want to like really make it a dope place to.
We just put a love sack in my parents' basement, and it is awesome.
Yeah, I definitely got to get a love sack. Those are so.
Oh my god! Now putting it together is not as easy as the video makes it seem to be. We're putting the covers on the cushions. I can tell you that much. But
I gotta leave.
So comfortable.
I gotta leave the sticker on the TV, bro. I have to. Like,
no.
When I post the new TV from the apartment, that one will absolutely be trolling everybody because now I have to leave the sticker.
I promise you that I will rip it off, and there will be nothing you can do about it.
By the way, guys, so Steve and I have an announcement. I mean, we told you guys before, but it was never official because because honestly, I didn't have the apartment. But Steve and I are going to be starting a podcast together in person. We're going to be doing it in person, and we're going to be trying to do it pretty much exactly like these guys from a stylistic perspective. Compound and Friends. So Steve is gonna live close to me, and hopefully every week he'll be able to come over. We'll hopefully have a guest.
As long as we do it at night, I don't see why not.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool, dude. Like this show, which you and I both love, it's two guys.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal, that show.
It's two guys talking about the markets, but they have a guest. You need the guest because the guest is what makes it. Like you and I could talk on the stream every day. You need the guest to really make it good. And you need the camera angles, the studio. Like you just need a good setup to do this. And these guys are in New York. That's why I'm saying like New York is finance capital when it comes to media. So I think this will be super fun. This will be super, super fun.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna turn one of the rooms in the studio in the apartment into a podcast studio and just try to scale it from there. And if we get microphones in that podcast studio, we will have some stickers on the podcast, on the microphones.
How about Boeing? Jesus.
Well, Lutnick pumped Boeing. So, by the way, we need a name for this thing. So you guys got to help us with a name because the Compound and Friends is such a unique name. Like it's so unique. I don't know what name.
Say it's Grok. Have Grok come up with it.
No, AI can't help with that. We need
Of course it can.
We need something special. We need something really special, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'll be watching on the nonprofit called YouTube. Dude, I'm telling you guys, YouTube does not make a profit. Or maybe it does, but it's incredibly minuscule compared to, I know they bring in $10 billion of revenue every quarter. How much of that turns into net income for Google's earnings per share? I don't think it's, and you're not going to be able to find the number because they never disclose it. There's a reason that if Google was making even $2 billion of profit off $9 billion of revenue per quarter, you don't think they would disclose that? Why wouldn't they? Like, why would they hesitate to disclose their margins? Of course they wouldn't, but I'm thinking it's not a lot. There's a lot of cost to running Google. There's 500 hours uploaded a minute to YouTube. So I think they spend a lot to make it run, but overall still a good asset. All right, cool. Sticker stays on podcast. Yes. Steve might not be okay with it, but still. All right. Thank you, everybody. Super fun. We'll be back tonight on Palantir Weekly. Maybe Steve joins, maybe he doesn't, but Arnie, Amir, I, and Matt will be there. And then on Sunday night, we'll be on the Future Show. And we'll get deeper into energy next week, especially if Steve's looking into it more. So
yeah, I'm going to look into it more. I got a couple, I think, Chevron, and there's some other ones that,
yeah.
I got to do some more work.
Milk and mayo. Oh, my gosh.
Ugh. Ugh.
Oh my gosh, we'll figure out a name. It'll be fun. Hopefully it launches in like October, November. Hopefully we get it set up and it'll be like one episode a week and it'll be something fun in person. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later today. And if not, on Sunday. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.